There you go. Thank you. Just didn't want to forget. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this May Lunch and Learn. I'm Jenna Klinner. I'm the service coordinator for the WiscWeb team. You already heard from Matt, and we're also joined here by a couple other members of our team, including our developers. And today we'll be focusing most of our time on the events calendar migration discussion, as Matt mentioned. So I have a little presentation I'm going to give here. And here's the agenda for my portion. I'm going to start with a quick overview of where things are at in case you weren't able to join or watch the last two Lunch and Learn sessions. I'll chat through the required migration timeline for this. I'll touch on the expectations for users of the events calendar. I'll note the archive options for those looking to keep notes on what they had written for past events. I'll offer a recap to make sure we're all on the same page. And finally, I'm going to hand things over to Matt, who will do a demo of our custom plugin known as UW Events. So I will start with a quick overview here just to make sure we have all the right info to start. So due to unforeseen issues with migrating to the latest versions of Events Calendar, we have made the very difficult decision to discontinue its use within our service specifically. I won't go into too much detail here just because we've already talked about this in past sessions, but if you're interested in learning more, I encourage you to visit the news feed on our website. Matt, if you're able to drop in a link, that would be helpful. We have links to past sessions. They're recorded. We have notes in there. All of that juicy, lovely information is in those. So please visit if you want a little bit more background on what happened. But just want to note, like with this change, we are requiring users of Events Calendar to move their content elsewhere. There are a few options available, and that includes a new plugin that we've created just for you based on feedback that you provided to us. It is called the UW Events plugin. It is custom for WiscWeb users, and it offers an option to build events right in the site. You could also choose to use Google Calendar, which can be embedded in a page by copying and pasting the URL of the calendar right in there, or today.wis.edu, which we have a page element for within the UW theme to allow the display of events in a list view. And just a note here, if you never used Events Calendar, if you're not using it at all, you are not impacted by this change. You can just keep on keeping on. However, if you decide you do want to display events on your site in the future, you can consider these options that I'm talking about here. All right, so on to the migration timeline. The timeline that we've chosen starts today, May 11th, and goes through October 31st, 2023. So we've made this plugin activatable for you, this UW Events plugin that we'll demo later. You already have access to Google Calendar and today.wisc, so you can start building now. This period was chosen for a couple different reasons. One, users voiced interest in having the entire summer to make the transition. We wanted to honor this request. Our team has worked very hard over the past several weeks to ensure that you had a functional plugin alternative and it would have the summer to rebuild your content. We also really wanted to provide several months for the transition. We know that changes like this are challenging and it is beneficial to have as much time as possible. With that, however, I have caveats. We would love to give you more time. However, there are some issues we needed to consider from our end that prevent us from providing more time. So we would love to give you like a full year to move. However, the first issue is that we currently can't patch Events Calendar, and that puts our service at a bit of a security risk. So we therefore need to limit the amount of time where the plugin sits in its current state, right? But additionally, our service will need to be upgraded to PHP version 8.1 by November 26, 2023. And on that date, we lose security support for PHP 8.0. The version of Events Calendar that we're on is not compatible with 8.1, so we really can't upgrade until everyone's off of it, unfortunately. So we have to be off of Events Calendar before we can make the switch. And this, by getting you all off of it by October 31st, gives us just a couple of weeks to get that change in place. So this is a really tight timeline. We unfortunately cannot be flexible with that end date because of those two reasons. October 31st, 2023 will be the last day that events calendar will be available in WiscWeb. And after that, we will decommission the plugin service-wide, regardless of whether or not content has been moved. So we highly recommend getting content moved over before that date. The silver lining here is that we will do everything in our power to make sure that you have as much support as possible throughout this transition. So we will try to free up time for office hours, document everything in the knowledge base, and offer updates through our lunch and learn sessions. Okay, so what is expected of you as an events calendar user? First, we need you to do a review of your events calendar content. What needs to be moved elsewhere? What's okay to go away entirely? Second, make yourself a plan for migration and block time on your calendar. We find this is the best way to ensure that you have the bandwidth to make the required changes, and then it feels like something that's a little bit more attainable. Third, we want you to review those alternative options and make a decision on where you're going to move your content. So we talked about there's a couple options available, the new Udemy Events plugin, which we're going to demo after my little spiel here, Google Calendar, today.wisc. You could also decide to choose or to build out your content as a page or post, or if you're using like a third-party vended solution, you can link it out to something like that. Some folks are using Eventbrite for that purpose, or other tools. So once you've decided on your alternative, you should begin building right away. Please do not delay, as we can't push back our support deadline for events calendar. The sooner you can get the content recreated, the better. And then the last thing here that we are hoping that you can all do is, when you are finished moving your content over, please make sure to deactivate events calendar within your project. This ensures that we are not going to bother you anymore with reminder emails. If we are seeing that you're no longer using events calendar, we can check you off of our list and you're good to go. We can show you how to do this with Matt's demo in case you are not familiar with deactivating a plugin. All right, for those of you who have those hefty yearly events and want to keep an archive of the content, we made sure to note a couple different options for you. These include manual recreation of the content, saving events to Google Drive or Box, saving the page as a PDF, copying and pasting from the sitemap, and exporting an XML file and opening it with a tool like Visual Studio Code. These have different levels of complexity and require different levels of technical ability, so we tried to note that as much as possible. Matt, if you're able, could you grab the KB doc that outlines these options and throw that in the chat?
It's already in there.
Perfect. You're amazing. So we have a KB doc that walks through all of these, but for those of you who are asking, like, how do I get an archive of those events, calendar events, so that I don't have to reinvent the wheel for the next time this event comes up? We have documentation for you that you can follow there. We can briefly demo these at the end of this as well when we're looking at the Udemy Events plugin. So that's the archive piece. And then I just wanted to recap here. So that's the gist of what I wanted to make sure to touch on today, mostly talking about like the timeline and that, you know, there's support available and we're going to be demo and the Udemy events. So here's the recap. Events calendar will be removed from the WiscWeb service in November 2023. Users must migrate their content to an alternative by October 31st, 2023. This is a strict timeline and cannot be pushed back due to those security implications that I mentioned earlier. If you need it, we will be offering several modes of support. So we are going to have KB documentation. Matt and I always have office hours. You can feel free to book anytime with us if there's anything that you would like to chat through. We have a customer support form. There's a link to that from our main website up in the top right corner, wiscweb.wisc.edu. We have our past news articles, which have all the information in case you need to share details with leadership. We've got the slides, we've got the recordings, and we've got an article that kind of gives a synopsis. And then also, as changes roll out and updates occur, we will try to keep you informed in our lunch and learn sessions and in our email communications. We also will likely add some notifications via our new feature in the dashboard. It's kind of like an alert or announcement feature. So after this session, we'll likely have one just notifying folks in case they're not able to attend this. It's going to link out to a news article that talks about this, but you might see other updates there as well. So always pay attention to those little messages right in your dashboard. All right. So I'll take this time to quickly just thank all of you for hanging with us through this difficult transition. I know that changes like this are not ideal, and I want you to know that we are here for you and we will do our best to make sure that this goes smoothly for you. Thank you for being amazing partners and for understanding the challenges that we face in the digital world. We appreciate you. I also want to applaud the efforts of my fellow WiscWeb team members. Just so you're aware, this was completely unplanned work. We fit this into an already very full plate of tasks. So within the span of only a few weeks, my colleagues have built, tested, and documented an entirely new plugin for users to ensure that you have what you need for advertising your events. So please give some snaps to these awesome people, especially our incredible developers, Scott Berg and Andrea Roning, who are here on this call today. So this is snaps. All right, so now I'll hand things over to Matt and he will do a little demo of the Udemy Events plugin and archive options that I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see here. Don't click that, click this. Screen one, share. Okay. So yeah, just to reiterate what Jenna said, this is something that did come together very fast. Scott and Andrea worked on this quite a bit. I also want to thank, we have a number of folks who are on this call or in this Zoom meeting as well, who were some of our test users. For some of these bigger plugins that we push out, we like to reach out to folks and have it be tested live in production. So the plugin itself has been live for several weeks now. We've had a few folks testing it and providing us with some feedback, which we have in turn taken that feedback and incorporated some of it into the plugin. So some of the things that you'll see are directly as a result of the feedback of our testers. So I want to thank them as well, because we can build things as much as we want to, but we really do need feedback from actual people to make it be what you need it to be. So, all right. So to get started with, the plugin is live. You can turn it on right now within WiscWeb. It is an activatable plugin for site admins. As always, you would just go to the plugins area. I'm logged in as my user account now, just so I can kind of demo some of this from a user standpoint. And you just kind of go through, and it is, I went too far, UW events. The plugin is right there. The knowledge base documentation is also right there, and I'll dump that into the chat here in a second. But if you click activate, it will activate that plugin. All right, let me grab this real quick, dump it in the chat. Where? There they are. Okay. Have this up. There we go. Okay, so there's the KB documentation for using the plugin. I've activated it. One thing to be, I should pop out of this so that I don't keep getting pop-ups. One thing to note is, if you look over here on the left, there is the UW events menu option over there. This is the plugin that we are now using. If you still have events calendar still active, you will also still have events up at the top. One thing that we want to make sure people to be aware of is, moving forward, don't use events calendar. use UW events. So I know the habit would likely be, I go to events, I create an event, blah, 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 blah. You need to break yourself of that habit and start using UW events to create that. So when I click on that, you'll notice I have a few events already sitting out here. But to add a new event, you go into add new. It's similar to every other post that you've worked with. You give it a title. You go and you grab yourself some handy dandy Bob Ross. Dump that in. It is similar to every other post that you use. You can use reusable content. So for example, Linda, I know in the past for some of your events, you use things like directions or parking information or something like that that's specific to the Wiseman area. You could have that be a reusable content piece and then just go in and grab it real quick and dump it to the bottom of your event. So it still uses that. You still have the ability to add media to your images, or I'm sorry, to your events. Images is what I'm looking at. Just edit this so that it looks a little better. We'll make it large, update, we'll center it. Okay. All the things. It's a post. It is the text editor. It's all those things. You have those options for it. So further down is where the actual event functionalities start to come into play. So the event start date, you would put it out to wherever you need it to be. Let's make this for the 16th. You can define it as an all-day event. You can also define it as a multi-day event. One of the things that we don't have in place at the moment, and we know that it is a feature request, and it is something that multiple people have talked about, is we don't have the ability to create recurring events right out of the editor area. So just be aware of the fact, and I'll demo how I sort of got around that recurring event thing. But just be aware of the fact that you can't create a recurring event out of this editor at this time. So your start time, you choose what time it begins. You have your minutes, hours, minutes, seconds. Let's go 12 p.m., 2-hour thing. You can define a location. So I could say, there you go. I could specify a room that I want it to be in. There's also a URL function. So one of the comments that has come in is, well, we have Zoom meetings, things of that nature. You can always put meeting information up in the body as well. So like if I wanted to, I could style this. Zoom meeting. I can make that be heading 3. I could whatever. I could put in HTTPS code, zoom.com, password 7. I can also have that URL appear down here, or I could have it be something else. Registration page, a page that you create that has more information to it, whatever it might be. And then you could say register for this event. Your excerpt, remember with posts and pages, by default, WordPress will grab the first amount of text that's in here and define that as the excerpt. You can come down here and you could change that to be something else. Okay. couple of other things over here on the right side. You can create event categories. So you do have the ability to categorize this and start to place this in different areas if you so desire based on categories that you choose. Let's just call this testing. I defined it. And then lastly, you do have the ability to apply. There we go. You do have the ability to apply a featured image. So I could set a featured image of, let's do cupcakes or a muffin. And then you also have the option to choose where you want that to appear. Right of the event text, above it, similar to other posts that have featured images, or you could say, do not display the featured image. I'm going to say, do not display the featured image, just because for now I'm going to say that. And then once I've chosen all of those things, actually, let's say right of the event text, since that's the default. And then once I'm done with that, I can click publish. And it gets added to my events. If I want to look at it, I will view it. And here's what it will look like. So there's that featured image. It's off to the right. So there's some decision process that has to go in as to how you define these. Again, now that this looks kind of weird, I would probably say don't show this on the post itself, but I wanted you all to be able to see that. Here's the event title. Here's the event information that I put in down below. And then the content of the event shows up there. And then here's that, here's the, I added some of that other information there, but it truly is just a post that you have worked with many other times. So that's the basics of how you create an event. So the other aspect of this that I wanted to touch on as I'm looking at it here is the fact that recurring events aren't something that you can create yet within, I shouldn't say yet, I don't want to make assumptions of what the developers can and can't do. At this time, recurring events is not an option that exists within UW Events plugin. We know it's a request. We know. So what you could do is, if this is an event that's going to recur, I could just clone it. So what you would need to do is you would need to have the Yoast duplicate post plugin also active to use this functionality, this clone functionality. So again, I know this is going to happen again. I'll click clone. It creates a draft of it. So now I'm going to go in and edit that draft. And now I can change the date. So let's say it's going to happen the next Tuesday. And now for this one, I'm going to say, do not display featured image. And then I'll publish it. Obviously, I would update any other information. If the Zoom link needs to change or if the location needs to change, I would update that information as well. But doing this on the fly. And so now it's gone over there. All right. That's how you create events. Any questions on the creation process?
I don't have a question. I'm going to jump in for just a moment, specifically with the featured image. So the options there and kind of the rationale behind being able to hide it on the page. The featured image is used for more than just displaying on the page. So that's typically grabbed by social media sites or things like that if links are shared. It can also be used, I believe, in the event list page builder element. I think we built that in. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that.
We'll see in a hot second.
Yeah, sorry, I figured you were going to get to it. I just wanted to kind of reiterate the importance of it because it does seem kind of like a weird thing. Why set a featured image if you're just not going to display it? But it, like I said, it's used kind of as metadata for social sharing and stuff like that. So it's usually a good idea to set one, even if you're not going to end up displaying it on the individual post.
Yeah, and just to play off that a little bit as well. Oh, I don't have it. So one of the other things that Scott was kind of leaning into there was the meta aspect of it, the social media aspect of it. I know a number of you will share out these events via Twitter, Facebook, etc. You can turn on your meta tag settings if you wanted to customize that functionality as well. So I click the checkbox for my meta tag settings. If I go down, I now have this meta tag area. I don't like it going above my excerpt. Forgive me while I do such a minor thing that bugs me. But down here, you can have the post on the page say one thing. You can have the information that goes out to your social media be a different thing. You can have it have a different title. You can have it have a different image, things of that nature. So just be aware of the fact that we have built that in as well, so that the sharing functionality is a little more robust as well. Any questions? That wasn't a question, Scott. Any questions in relation to this? Auto align to the left since they're essentially posts. Yes, Brandon, they are auto aligning left. Yeah, I mean, for ease of building it, we used what was existing there, and kind of have built off of that a little bit. Okay. All right. The questions are not coming in hot, so I will move on to how do you display these things. So next up, I'm going to go to pages. I'm going to show that in a second here, Linda. I'm going to go to this events test page since I've already started to build some stuff out there. Okay. So I have my events test page. I'm going to add a 1-column layout. We do now have the page element that exists called events list. So this is similar to your fact staff listing, your post listing. It's a page element that you can add to the page itself. I can title it whatever I want to title it. It defaults titled as events. What number of events do I want to display? That's up to you. I can refine this to only be a particular category. I'm going to leave it as all events. I'm not going to select anything in there. I can choose to show the excerpts. And then there's the option to show more events link. So this is something that you need to be aware of as you start to build this out. And this is going to be an issue initially for those of you who are using Events Calendar. Events Calendar also consumes the events slug, the events URL. We have built UW events to also consume the events URL. So the more will go to a master post list that is, whatever.wisc.edu/events. If Events Calendar is still active, that will not work for UW events. That's why Jenna had mentioned earlier, we want you to make sure that you get Events Calendar deactivated as soon as you can.
Matt,
shake your head.
So while you have Events Calendar active, your events will publish to /UW-events.
Okay, thank you.
So it won't be a problem during. As soon as you deactivate Events Calendar, it's going to switch to just /events.
Okay.
So you will see that change. Don't be alarmed by it. It's made for a specific reason so that you don't have both trying to publish to the same place at the same time.
Okay.
Also worth noting that there is redirect logic built in. So after you deactivate the events calendar, URLs that were /UW-events will automatically redirect to the new /events after the deactivation of events calendar. So that kind of stuff is kind of, we thought about that. We wanted to make sure that these links worked and were able to be sent out to people without breaking in the future.
Okay, so there's the list. I'll answer that one in a second, Brandon. I'll click update. And then we will just kind of go out and take a look at this test page, and there it is. There's the image.
Images don't show on the list view, they only show on the archive view. That's by design so that the list view is advertising the event date.
Yep.
But
Yep.
archive, it'll show to the right. That's exactly how events calendar was. To touch on Brendan's question. So Brandon's question. Brandon asks, can we still add custom event tags more specific than categories to make sure that to make even more customized event lists? We were doing this before with events calendar tags. At this time, tags are not available with UW events, but we can kind of touch on something related to features. So as you find these features that you are interested in with the UW events plugin, we request that you follow the exact same process that we have for all other features and submit it via our feature request board so that we can understand broad usage. So I will put a link to that in the chat here. This doc outlines the process and where you can find our board.
Yeah. Yeah. So sorry, I've got this chat. My phone keeps buzzing with our Teams chat. Keep getting distracted. Okay. To answer Linda's question, will the shortcode allow you to limit events to show the specific categories? So two things to that. First of all, break your mind of shortcode. It's not a shortcode anymore. It's a page element. So start to get into that habit because that'll make this transition work easier for you. Specific categories, yes, there's this event category value here. If I wanted to, I'll just show lunch and learns on this particular page and click update. And then so now you can see, here's my events test page. It's showing everything coming up. If I do a quick refresh, now I have limited it to just the lunch and learns that I have created within this. Yeah. Okay. Phil's note about recurring events. So that's really where we're standing right now. I don't know that there's much else to demo about it. It's relatively straightforward. Once you just wrap your mind around the steps of like where the date goes and that stuff, it's a post. I don't overwhelm you too much. Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
I was just going to say, could you show how they can deactivate events calendar when they're done?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So I don't have events calendar active in my training site, but I'll activate it and then I'll deactivate it.
Yeah.
As I wait for, go ahead.
I was just going to say the only reason is because it does pop up with a message that I wanted to touch on for all of you so that you knew what to do when you see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good thing. Thank you. Really quick, the pagination functionality, if you'll notice, we do have the ability to show past events in here. So if you click on previous events, you can go back in time to look at specific events. And then today, Nathan, into an existing content block, no, because
featured, can try pulling it into a featured content block. I'm not sure on that. I don't think we tested that.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, give me a second. Let's activate the events calendar. I can't because it's no longer activatable.
Yes, true.
Oh,
that's okay. So just show.
Let me go. I might have it still in my training site. Let's just see.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay, no problem. We could just show how you get to the plugins and then
sorry,
deactivate.
That's right. I forgot about that. So regardless, to deactivate it, you would go to plugins. You'll see your existing events calendar over here. You'll click on deactivate. When you click on deactivate, there will be a little pop-up that shows up that's asking you, why are you deactivating it? It's basically just them soliciting feedback on the events calendar. All you have to do is just click skip and deactivate or continue to. I can't remember what the exact wording is, but you can click skip and just go beyond that to deactivate the plugin.
Yep. And there's technically two events calendar plugins. There's the events calendar and the events calendar pro. Deactivating just events calendar will automatically deactivate events calendar pro for you. That's all you need to do.
Yep. Okay. So let's hit on a couple of things here. I don't want to get too, I want to hold off real quick because I want to say something. I want to get to a couple of other things before I keep going with the events calendar. First and foremost, I sent out in the agenda this morning something about the fact staff revisions thing. Andrea pointed out to me, I had that in my notes for this month. We're not actually pushing that out this month. That's going to go in our June update. But one of the requests that came in, for those of you who are in the WordPress users group team channel, this was one of the things that came up there. It was kind of like an oversight / bug, the ability to see revision histories for faculty staff members as well as documents pages. We're going to make that available in June. And we'll touch more on it during the June lunch and learn about like how that works, things like that. I just want to make sure people are aware. I misspoke there. We're not putting it out this month. We're putting it out next month. We did do a slight update to the UW theme this morning for a security fix for basically what we use. It's the advanced custom fields, the ACF plugin that we use to build the UW theme essentially. We've seen no issues with that being pushed out this morning, but if you run into any errors while you're building pages or adding new page elements or updating pages, feel free to reach out to us. And then lastly, please, for the love of everything, oh please, it's May 11th. July 1st, 2023 is bearing down on all of you. Please go update your Google Analytics to Google Analytics 4 before July 1st, 2023. I've had many a meeting with many a person over the last few weeks about things not Google Analytics related. And I look in their Google Analytics area and it still says UA dash blah, 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 blah. Please update your Google Analytics. Please. And thank you. Okay. Let's go back to the events thing. All right. So events test. What was some of the things that we wanted to test out? We wanted to test out if you can add it to a featured content block. Let's see. Let's add a page element. Let's add a featured content block. I
just tested this and it looks like it does work.
So you can pull it in because it is a post type. Yeah. But you have to find it in here.
If you know the title of the event, it's a lot easier. So if you have like a unique title of any of yours, if you just start typing
because it's going through. Yeah, it's going through all of them.
I would highly recommend searching for like if you have.
Yeah. So here are those events. Yeah, you can throw it into a featured content block. Let me add an image. Mr. Cookie. And here's what it would look like. We can't pull it. No, because the featured content block is individual item, not multiple items in one featured content block. I already demoed. You can do a category using the page element if you just. There's the event calendar, the event category thing here. You can specify that as whatever category you want it to be. So you can put this on whatever page you want it to be based on whatever category it is. And that will pull in the list of events that are identified as that particular category there. Listed by date. Yes, it does go in chronological order of the event itself, not the date that you posted it. Yeah, I don't see anything else coming in.
I see something. I can't remember if you touched on this already. Linda had a question about like can we have some old events and some new events up at the same time? How do they display? And you started kind of looking at stuff, but maybe we look at that past events, future events toggle again.
Yeah.
And then Linda also asks, should we try to move everything at once, like within a week or two? And that's a great question. I think it kind of depends on your needs a little bit.
Yeah.
But maybe we can chat that over in like an office hours thing, Linda, for your specific needs.
Okay. All right, so clicking on more events will take me to my events here. Again, it's chronological to what's coming up. Obviously, this is happening still at the moment, so it will stay up. Once this time period ends, this will go into a previous event state, and then this one will be here. I thought we pushed out this fix. Did we not push out that
I
fix?
thought we did as well. Maybe that didn't get wrapped in, but we can make sure that that gets updated.
Okay. Anyways, I noticed this was a bug I noticed. Like there's some sort of slash happening in front of apostrophes for the excerpt at least. We're aware of that, so I know we fixed it in dev. We might not have pushed it to prod. Anyways, if you click on previous events, that will take you to things that have. Oh, that's interesting. It's still showing. That's an interesting thing. I don't know. I don't know if I noticed that. It's still showing the current event as the past event, and then it starts listing the previous events.
Is that because it already started? Maybe because it started at noon.
Interesting.
So
yeah, there's probably just some interesting date time logic going on there that we can look into.
Yeah.
This is a good plug. If anyone finds anything weird like this,
yeah.
please.
I was going to get to that. Yeah. We're because of the nature of this, and because of the fact that, like, I mean, we test as much as we can. There's no way we can test every situation that you all are going to run into as you start to build these events out. Anything that you run into, please go report it. You can report it through the customer support forum and just note it as a bug that you found, and just send that in. That'll help us out immensely. But anyways, to Sarah's point, 1 p.m. isn't in the past yet. So I think once it hits the 1 p.m., that's when it will be. It becomes a past event because it's still occurring at the moment. So anyways, yeah, this is how you could go into the past to see those previous events. I don't know if there's much else to say on that. Let's see. Anything else? The end of the event is in the past. Oh yeah, that's what. Can we edit the final archive page log to something other than /events? That is a flat circle.
Speaking to the events,
yes.
Yeah, we did add the option to change the event slug similar to what you were able to do with events calendar or the events calendar. There is a settings page where you can change out the two slugs that are used. So for the way that this works with WordPress, there is /events, which will be your category and archive pages, and then there's also /event, which will be when you're viewing a single event. So you can change those. We recommend not changing those from the default unless you already have some sort of page structure that is using those URLs. Obviously, with URLs, you want to keep them nice and semantic and obvious what they're doing. So like I said, we recommend not doing that. But if you have stuff that you need to, the option is there. Otherwise, you can just leave these options blank in the settings page and it'll just work as default.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will reiterate, this isn't something that you should really look to do unless you have a very specific site or essentially a business need to change your slugs to something else. Leave it as is because it just works that way. Let's see. I think I answered that. Post listed by date. Yep, we talked about that. Any other questions, comments, concerns? As Jenna pointed out, this is a growing thing. We have plenty of features that we're still looking at. Lots of feedback from our testers that we're still looking at and still trying to figure out how and if we should implement them. But if there are things where you would like to put into consideration, please use the feature request board and throw some things up there. Sorry, felt a sneeze coming out. I thought I was going to have to mute quick. When are office hours? Grace, thank you for asking. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Jenna could probably have already gotten there. I'm going to slow roll it. Not even looking.
I'm going to answer a question that came in from Linda just now.
Okay. Go ahead.
So Linda said, missed the answer. Can we pull an entire list into a content block? So you can pull an individual event into a featured content block. You cannot pull an entire events list into a featured content block. However, if you are trying to display a full events list, instead, you should use the page element for that purpose, which is the UW events page element. That's what that's for, is for that list view. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, that's why when you said what you said, Linda, earlier about like, can the short code do this or that? That's one of the reasons why I want people to sort of break their habit of referring to what's happening now with UW events as a short code, because we're not using short code functionality for it. We're using a straight page element for it now. So that's the break there, where a page element, you can put it wherever you want on a page. Short code is like, it could be embedded into content areas, which we can't do with this functionality.
And I didn't notice this, but Nathan had a question. It looks like we can't pull a full list of events based on category, correct? No, you can pull
I answered that.
an event size. Okay.
That.
Wanted to make sure that one was answered. I'm like, I think we touched on this, but yes, you can pull an events list based on category in case you didn't see that part.
Yeah, and I'll say, I just really quick to my to the office hours thing. I'm going to have to edit my office hours coming up here, because for the month of June and the month of July, I am not going to be available on Fridays for office hours because I have some travel things coming up with my oldest son playing baseball. So I'm going to move mine to probably Mondays. So just so people are aware, I need to make that change today because people are going to start looking at office hours. So I need to make sure that, but just so folks know, if you go out there and you start to schedule some office hours with me, I think I have it blocked on my calendar, but I am going to open up Mondays for office hours with me. And honestly, the office hours are just an easy for me, at least. I won't speak for Jenna because she's way busier than I am. It's an easy way to set up time with me, automated. Never hesitate to reach out to me if you want to schedule some time with me, because I can always squeeze in an hour somewhere during the week if people want to meet with me outside of my office hours. So don't hesitate to get in touch with me if you do want to just set up some time. I know Fridays don't always work for everybody. And as I said, Fridays coming up aren't going to work for me. So if you want to meet, just reach out to me and we'll set something up. I'm more than happy to get together.
For me,
let's see. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, it's great if you could use the office hours designated on the page.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good question, Brandon. So actually there's two thoughts that I have on that I want to touch on. So first and foremost, I'll just switch over to this now just because the thought is happening. So a number of you have probably been getting emails and notifications as you log into Google Analytics about make that switch. They're being very pushy about it as well. It's interesting to me that it says my stuff is not complete. I'm literally looking at the GA4 service page analytics. I mean, I haven't clicked this, but I don't really care to. Regardless, with the old universal analytics, what you could do is, so this is what you'll probably see if you still have the UA set up and you still log in to look at your UA. I've already set it up, so I click no thanks. I don't worry about that stuff. But this question has come up a couple of times in the one-off conversations I've been having with folks during office hours for this is, what do we do with the old UA stuff? It's going to exist from July until at least January 1st, 2024. My assumption is once January hits, Google Analytics is going to be like, look, we don't want to keep this data, and we gave you 6 months to do something with this data. We're done. So you do have the ability to go in and pull out, essentially what I would look at is like the pages report. So what you could do is you could go into the pages report. You could specify the time frame that you want to look at the data from. So if I'm particular about it, I could say, I just want this year's worth of data. Or I could go back further in time and say, let's go all the way back to January 2021. That's what I need. So then I'll click apply. Wait patiently. Oh, that was faster than I thought it was going to be. So now here's what we get. I can expand this to whatever I want to expand it to, get that information in there. But what I can now do is I can do an export, and I can export that out to one of the 4 options: PDF, a Google Sheet, an Excel file, or a CSV file. Matt would say let it shuffle off its mortal coil, but I know some of you are very attentive to past data and using that as analysis moving forward. This is how you can do that stuff and do that. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those things that I know January 1st, 2024 is going to hit. Actually, I won't be in the office that day. January 8th, 2024 is going to hit. And some of the first emails that I get are going to be, I can't get to my old analytics data. And I'm going to say, that's true. You can't. And I can't help you. I am quite powerful, but Google does not listen to me. So, but yeah, it's 12:57. I don't know that we have too much more to touch on. The events thing, go forth and activate with reckless abandon. Start creating your events. Reach out to us if you have any questions. If you find a bug, I should specify. If you find a bug, if something's not working the way that you think it should be, please fill out a bug report and send that to our ticket system. If there's a function that you would like to see added to it, please go fill out a feature request and put that up on the feature request board. I want to make sure we differentiate between those two so that we don't get an overwhelming amount of tickets coming in for bugs that aren't actually bugs. They're just things people want to have happen. So let's see. For setting up reports and whatnot for actually getting info out of GA4. Yeah, that's an excellent question, Daddy. I don't know of any. This is one of those things, I mentioned it, I think last month, maybe the month before. I've mentioned it a few times. Much to our disappointment and much to his wonderful expertise, we lost Jonathan Jonathan Dietering, who was with our client engagement team and was an amazing resource for all things Google. We don't really have a specific resource here on campus when it comes to like Google stuff, Google Analytics specifically here. Jennifer, thank you for putting that in there. There is likely a number of YouTube channels and websites out there that are dedicated to getting the most out of Google Analytics 4. We don't have anyone who has that expertise, unfortunately. So my answer is no, I don't know of any, but if I were looking to do a very specific thing, I would just go and try and search for it either on Google or in YouTube and find that. Yes, we lost Jonathan. It was our loss, and Office of Human Resources gained. He is now their webmaster over there. So
before we wrap, and I see some people are leaving, I wanted to at least just mention this. Matt did touch on this earlier, but we did have a UW theme update today. It was specifically to update advanced custom fields to the latest version. There was a security vulnerability that had been found in that. So if there's anyone in here, I know some people do watch this that aren't specifically WiscWeb customers. The UW theme update should be out on WordPress.wisc. So go download that and put that on your own installs. Make sure ACF, if you're using it elsewhere, is updated. If you're on WiscWeb, you have nothing to worry about. We've already done those updates and everything is updated across the board for us. But just trying to get campus up to speed with everything as well so that there aren't any security risks with that. So update your software.
Good plug. Thank you, Scott.
Yep. Okay. It's one. I'm going to call it there. I will stop sharing. I will stop recording. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and we'll talk to you soon.